Hey there, so today we are going to take a journey once more to that wonderful world of anime, and we are going to talk about anime conventions and apparently how they're pretty much unsafe. At least certain ones are, at least from the headlines that I've been reading. It's been kind of an amazing thing to look at too. When you look at Japan Times, for example, doing articles on anime having their hashtag #MeToo moment, or you look at places like Animenext brought up in headlines, not only like this, but other ones as well. In fact, the reason that I think about Animenext and I think about accusations, well, comes up in the Vic Mignogna thing. Now, this will actually be mentioned in the allegation that we're going to be looking over, but this isn't the first time. This here will be discussed for 2015, but 2011, a certain Jessie Pridemore decided to talk about her stance with Vic, what happened with him, how he had treated her like basically a con slut. Yeah, that's right. That's pretty much what she tries to go through there. You can see her mention this right here. And yeah, that's all tied to a convention that, well, apparently wasn't paying any attention. That's the message anyhow. Conventions, if they are places that fans can go to and they can feel safe, well, they need to basically put that other foot forward, and they need to tell people that it's either truth by accusation or we need substantiation. Because this thing that circumvents due process, that doesn't just make the person that's sitting here with their picture out look bad. It doesn't just make, say, a Vic Mignogna look bad. No, it makes everything look bad. It looks like they don't care at all. That's why certain conventions out there standing up to the mass hysteria, to the burning down of human beings, is actually very important. Because either we stand up and we say, yeah, we actually need some type of proof here. Or, now what's interesting too is when you bring this idea of proof up, you have people like, say, a Shane Holmberg, a guy that is connected to cons, a guy that has told you that he has taken part in destroying evidence. He has been there. He knew about stuff, but hey, that stuff just slid off to the back. They also say, oh my God, you want proof of sexual assault? What type of a sicko are you? Because due process basically can be circumvented by shaming people. Again, I'm not saying not to listen, but I'm saying that when you believe, that is a very slippery slope. And that slope, well, it might just lead right back to you. Currently, too, just saying on this, there are over 70 names on a spreadsheet, called the Broken Staircase. 70 names on it. There are also other people that haven't been included yet, like, say, Sean Schimmel, but have actually been discussed by the same brigaders that wanted to take down other people. So when you look at this stuff, and when you say, hey, I'm going to stand with the quote-unquote victims, when you use that terminology without actually knowing whether or not there are victims, remember what kind of landscape you promote. Because that landscape, again, it might be littered with the careers of certain people, and well, you might be one of them. Now, this article is coming out of Bounding Into Comics. Normally, I won't look through an entire article like this, but Bounding Into Comics does not mind that. They actually want you to be able to discuss things, and I want to say, if you haven't checked them out, they are a good source where they try to go and at least promote the idea that they're giving you something factual. They do have opinions on things. That's okay to have those. And you can agree or disagree. They allow that. They've taken their lumps for being that way too, for actually allowing other people to go out and discuss subjects. They lost a 250,000 fan page because of that on Facebook. And they've lost their Marvel comps, talking about comic books, because they talked about the behavior of Marvel staffers and how certain comic books are trash. So, for telling the truth, they've taken their lumps. So make sure to go and subscribe to them. Give them a thumbs up too. Tell tell them on Twitter or on that you appreciate them. So, Animenext currently investigating the allegations of sexual misconduct levied against former convention chair Eric T. I'm going to refer to him as Eric T. and other people easily because I butcher names, so it's much easier that way. Now, this story originated from ANN and was referencing first allegations that came up March the 12th. A quote-unquote staff member, of course, we have to assume they're staff members because they do not provide their name. They only use a pseudonym, and May. They came forward because of the uproar surrounding allegations of sexual misconduct around Vic Mignogna, and they decided to step forward themselves. They say here, I have noticed the big uproar with Vic, and if people have stepped up and came out about things that have happened. It inspired me to share my story. At this point, I am afraid to reveal my name, but still want to tell my story. I was a staffer at Animenext, and the con chair at the time was highly inappropriate. He was very handsy, would make inappropriate comments, and even invited me back to his room. He was twice my age. It had happened many times, but I ignored it because I didn't think that there was anything I could do about it. I then found out that it happened to another girl. She told someone on staff. I guess the guy was on the board of directors or something. I didn't even know that the con chair answered to someone. I told my story as well, and it seemed like the other came forward to that person. The con chair at the time seemed to have a type. I was even told by one of the other girls that made a complaint that the con chair liked young Asian girls the most, and I think she told me that he had a wife his own age that was Asian too, and a child with her, but yet he was trying to get me to his room in the middle of the night. Now, you like how much of this is, well, they told me this, someone else told me that, therefore, I always love how, factual, again, quote-unquote factual, because their presentation is supposed to be that. Again, substantiation is based only in accusation, but then they go out and they add other accusations, so it's kind of interesting. They step out of themselves. But continuing, the person I complained to told me that he took it very seriously and he would look into it and bring it to the board if it seemed necessary. I don't know if the guy brought to the rest of the board. The con chair did not do anything inappropriate to me for the rest of the weekends, but I did have some inappropriate encounters after the weekend, so I would have to make sure that I was nowhere near him or not in the same room as him. I heard that the guy I complained to was voted off of the board right after the con. I never saw him at the con again, and they go on through conjecture. This is what I think happened to that dude. This is what happened to Non, because, my best friend's girlfriend's garbage empty and uncle said one time at a convention that he heard, because all of that's how that goes. Again, not saying that you should not listen to people. I like to see exactly what's out there. But remember that word, that tricky word called believe. When you believe, without substantiation, what that does is burn people down. And remember again, when I'm talking about this stuff, that there are bad people out there. There have been many connected conventions, but you have to actually adopt some type of standard. And I like that standard with due process. Even though it's flawed, it's much better than the court of public opinion. Now, this person added to tell ANN, I never feared for my safety, but I think I would if I ever ended up in the room with him. I ended up, which he invited to inappropriate hours for a drink. I'm not drinking age, but I was over 18. Now, May's complaints and those of other women were shared with Animenext, head of HR, and then member of the board director, called him Carlo D. I'm just going to call him CD, who stated that he first heard of the allegations against Eric T. in 2015. It all started with one complaint that I was told while I was working in the green room. A girl mentioned that she was having a problem with Eric, but put it in a joking manner. At first, it didn't sound like she was serious, but then I got the feeling that it was true. true. So I asked her directly. She said it is true and has been going on since the previous year. She thought because he was the con chair that there was no one she could complain to. I let her know that I am on the board of directors and that Eric answers to the board of directors. So I urged her to tell me everything that happened. I will bring it to the board. It just happened that another staffer heard us talking and said that Eric had done the same to her. This then, as if I opened a floodgate, many women came to me with their stories, or stories of Eric doing this to other people. Or stories of Eric doing this to other people. So, again, conjecture on that because, and again, you open the floodgates. Interesting, huh? And again, not dismissing people there, but I wonder what exactly an investigation looks like. Is it too lax? Is it actually looking for proof? I mean, is it something that will burn you down? I do wonder exactly how that goes. Now, according to D and A&N, the complaints concern such as inappropriate speech, unwanted touching, inviting women under 21 to drink in his room at night, generally making women feel uncomfortable. When D learned of the allegations, he reported the situation to the corporate chair, which prompted the board of directors to issue an open invitation to the board members to attend all-hands meeting, though T himself was not invited. The board would then decide to meet with T after the year's convention, and T was issued a warning to watch his conduct while remaining responsible for the duties relating to the convention. T was then voted to a position of convention chair and would remain in the position for 2 years. However, D here, the other one, notes that he was the only board of director member at the time that knew the complainants, but he wasn't there to represent them at the meeting. So essentially what he's saying is, hey, when they had this set up, all of the allegations here, I wasn't even invited to talk about that. Now that, again, sounds a little troubling there, especially if you're talking about actually investigating things. That's kind of telling too. Like I said, the people that look bad in all of this stuff, it's really Animenext, not just that guy there, not just other people's names that come up, because those names, they will fade after time. If they're not hooked to conventions or anything, they just ride off into the sunset. But you know who remains? Animenext, the place that now, it looks like the house that abusers built. Then they go on, they talk about even more of this stuff, and it's kind of an interesting article, the way that it's put together. I think that it's kind of interesting, too, that it ends on talking about Animenext actually coming up next June. And, well, when you see all of this stuff, again, when you have people talking about anime having its #MeToo moment, yeah, does that make people feel safe? Does that make people think that these conventions are a place that they want to send just anyone to? Because again, conventions that are going along with that, they basically throw out names. They basically say, yeah, these people are no longer invited. Well, it makes it sound like, again, they're the house that abusers built. I don't know. But like I said, when I look at this too, due process, can't stress that enough. Cannot stress that enough. But anyhow, you tell me what you think about this stuff. So if you like this kind of content, make sure that you're subbed. Make sure that you hit that bell for daily notifications. And if you want to go further, you're under no obligation to do so. But say you love that umbrella guy and you want to help the channel out, well, there are links in the description. One of those is the case of the Littlest Umbrella. 2 comic books attached to that. All ages Lovecraftian tale, plus another one that is a satirical approach to a certain movement out there that I was involved in and still am, because we want better products and we want professionalism. And yeah, I think that stuff is important. 2 products, 1 statement there saying we can actually create our own endeavors if you won't listen. That's something that all of these places out there, they need to hear too, whether that be comics, whether that be anime, gaming, and on. If they won't do it right, then we can. So anyhow, check these out if you want to, and let me know what you think about the insanity that we're seeing out here with these conventions. What exactly, is being discussed out here, and what you think about this situation. Not just this this one again, but other situations where the same conventions, they're mentioned. And when they're mentioned, well, that certain light that they allow themselves to adopt, what do you think that does to their reputation? Again, agree, disagree, it doesn't matter. I appreciate your comments. And I'm going to end by saying I appreciate you showing up. You know, there's a lot of people that make endeavors possible. They seem to be forgotten these days. Again, comics, anime, gaming, and on, they need to wake up to that revelation that without the consumer, you're nothing. And these people, well, they're basically relegating themselves to meaninglessness, and they're doing it very well. So anyhow, I want to thank you for showing up. Don't want to be like those people. We'll do this stuff again very soon. So, ending, thank you.